In the last movie, I talked about Python's built-in functions. Functions like print and type and str, int. These functions you can use straight away. You don't need to do anything else. You can just say print and in brackets whatever you want to print. So today I'm going to talk about functions, but this time I'm going to talk about functions that you as a programmer will define yourself. So I'm talking about programmer defined functions, or we could also call them user defined functions. So let's open, well, first of all, let's go to look at the schedule. Just click on any of these links to get to the schedule. We're now in week 5. I'm continuing to talk about functions, and you can read about them here, and you can read about them from the textbook and these links here. We are continuing to work on labs related to functions. So let's just click on functions. Now, I've previously in the last video talked about, I introduced functions, talked about built-in functions. Now we're going to use programmer-defined functions, or they're also called user-defined functions. I'm going to skip down to section 6.3, which is here. So programmer-defined functions, or user-defined functions, are built by programmers. And so we're going to look at how to create our own functions, give them the name that we want, to do the job that we want. Now, this is the syntax to define a function. We use the keyword def, that's short for define. Then we give the function a name, and then any parameters, or these are going to be the arguments that are going to be sent to the function, and whatever statements we want to try. So I'm going to open up a Python shell, and let's have a new file. Let's go to file new, and then I'm going to save as, let's just call it fun.py, and now I'm going to define a function. So I could define a function. Notice def is a keyword, it's in orange. Let's call this function greeting, or greetings. Now, all functions, after you've given it a name, you have to have the brackets. At the minute, I'm not going to put anything in the brackets. After the brackets, you have to have a colon, and just like with the if statement and the while and the for statement, as soon as I press the enter key, you'll notice that Python automatically indents. It gives me 4 spaces. Don't delete those spaces, those are part of the syntax. It tells Python that these statements that are indented are the ones that are part of this function. So let's press the enter key now. Notice the 4 spaces. I didn't type those in, those are automatically there. This is a signal from Python to start typing here. So let's type a greeting, print hello. Now there I've typed in a print statement. So let's press the enter key now, and you'll see that the flashing cursor is flashing directly underneath the word print. Basically here I can do another statement which will also be a part of the definition of this function that I'm calling greetings. For now, this will do. So let's save this code. File, save. Now what happens if I try to run this? I'm going to show you what happens because it may surprise you what happens. If I run this, we're not seeing anything, and yet the prompt has come back. It restarted our code, the prompt came back, but we didn't see anything. Now the reason we didn't see anything is that I defined the function. Functions work in 2 parts. You define a function, but when you want to run the function, you call its name. So if I want to run this function that I've defined, I have to call its name. Just like if we want to print something, we have to call print. If we want to see the type, we have to use type. if we want to run greetings, we have to type greetings. Notice when I type greetings, this function is coming out in black. This is our own function, and it's showing now in black. So let's save this code. There's my function definition, and now I want to call that function. When you say call a function, it means Python will go to look at the definition and run what is required. So when I say greetings, it's going to go to the function definition and it's going to print hello. So let's run it this time. Good. So Python has done what I asked. I told it to run the greetings function, and it ran the greetings function. Now the nice thing about this is that I can run this function as many times as I like. So if I want to run it again, then it's going to run this function twice now. Hello, hello. Now if I want to say hello, 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 I can just say greetings one more time. And let's save this and run. And now hello, hello, hello. So we define the function one time and we can run it as many times as we like. It's put in the same position as any other statement. So I could say, let me see, I could even make it repeat in a loop. So I could say something like this: for I in range, let's have 5, greetings. So this time when I run the code, it's going to call the function greetings. So it's going to say hello, hello, hello. Then for I in range 5 means it will count 5 times from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each time it repeats it will call the greetings function. So in total, greetings will be printed, or the word hello will be printed 8 times. So let's save this and run, and there it is. So the first 3 times it ran, printed hello because I said greetings, 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 hello, hello, hello. And here it ran the greetings function 5 times. I has a value from 0 all the way through to 4. Those are the 5 times, or 5 values of I, and each time it's going to print the word hello because it's calling the greetings function. So greetings with the brackets is a call to the function that you have just defined, and you can call that function as many times as you like. Now I should say that we usually define our functions right at the top of our code. Once you've defined your function, Python will know what your function has to do at any later point in your program. So define your functions at the top of the code. That way you always know where your functions are defined, and you know that Python is ready to run those functions when you call the function. So this is called a function definition, and it starts with the keyword def, and this is called a function call. And when a function is called, it will go off to run whatever statements are beneath the function def greetings part of the code. So this is a function header, but this is the function, the statement that has to be executed. Now of course you can have as many statements in your greetings function as you like, so I could say print nice day today. So maybe we don't want to print that 8 times, so let's just remove those and run it again. So it's going to ask me to save, which I do, and there it says hello, nice day today. So this is the function call. When the function is called, Python will run whatever statements are underneath the function heading, which starts with the word def, the keyword def, followed by the name of the function, and there we have our function running. Now, the neat thing about functions is you can send a value to a function. So for example, I might want to say, okay, I want this greetings function to say hello, nice day as many times as I want. So maybe I'll put a 3 in there. I want it to run this function and say hello, nice day today 3 times. So this value 3 has to be received somewhere in our function definition. So let's put it's always a variable that's going to receive that value. So let's put the variable n. Now I'm going to use n to control how many times it's going to print hello, nice day today. So let's use a for loop. Let's say for I in range n. Now of course I have to indent these 2 lines, 4 spaces. So now what it's going to do, I'm going to send the number 3. This is called the argument in a function call. So anything in brackets when you call a function, that's called an argument. So this argument is going to be sent and received into this variable. Now this variable has got a special name, it's called a parameter. So don't get them confused. This is the argument to the function. Arguments are always placed inside the brackets in a function call. Now, if there is one argument, then the function definition has to have one parameter. A parameter is a variable that's going to receive this argument. So the 3 will go into n. So in the function itself, n will have a value of 3. Now range 3 means that these 2 statements will be repeated 3 times. So let's try this. First of all, I will save, then I will run, and there we go. It's printing hello, have a nice day 3 times. So the 3 is the argument. So any function call in brackets, that's where the arguments will be placed. You could have no arguments, or you could have one, or you could have many arguments separated by a comma. Now for each argument, the argument has to be received into a variable. So 3 will be placed into n, and in the function n will have a value of 3. So there we have it. Now I think I'm going to leave it at this point because here I've introduced programmer-defined functions. Let's close this. Programmer-defined functions, they're also known as user-defined functions. The syntax starts with the keyword def, followed by any name you like. It's got the same rules for variable names, so you cannot have a space in the name. You can use an underscore, but you cannot have spaces in the name of a function. We usually put functions, just like we do with variables, in lowercase. You cannot have any unusual characters like dollar signs or an ampersand sign or different signs in a function name. The parameter is a variable, and the same rules apply for variable names. And after the function header, which includes the keyword def, the name of your function, and in brackets any parameters, we have the colon, and underneath we have the statements that we want to be executed when that function is called. So to recap, this is the parameter list. In our case we've only got one parameter. Greetings is the function name. def is the keyword which defines the function. We call this the function header, and we call these the body of the function. So these are just any regular statements, and when we call the function, we give the name of the function that we used when we defined the function and any arguments that we want to send to the function. They will be received into the parameter. Now we could send more than one. I could say, for example, I could send 3, and then I could also send a string. So let's have 2 parameters. If we have 2 arguments, we have to have 2 parameters. So n, that will be the number we send, and we do a comma, and then let's say the name. So this will be received into the name parameter. So maybe I shall say hello, comma, the name, nice day today. So let's see what's going to happen here. The 3 will go into n will go into the name, and then this will repeat 3 times. Say hello and nice day today. Let's see that happen. So I'm going to save this code, run the code, and there you go. So isn't that nice? We can send across a variable or a value, let me go back to my code here, to a function. I can send as many arguments as I like, as long as I have a matching number of parameters. You must remember that parameters are always variables, but the arguments could be a number or a string or even a variable. Let's change that. Let's see this run again. And there it is, it's running again. So let's make it a bit more interesting. We'll ask them for how many numbers, and then we'll ask them what is your name. So let's change this slightly. I'm going to say, well, let's leave it as it is there. But now what I'm going to say is my name. No, let's put the name. Let's put name. Name is input. Please input your name. So now if you remember, input only ever will input a string. So name will be whatever I type in. If you want to input a number, you have to convert your string to a number. So for example, I could say number is assigned. Now we want an integer, so we say int input how many greetings. Or let's say no, that'll do. We'll put that like that. So we're going to get a number, which is the number of greetings, and we're going to get from the input your name. This will be a string. Now this will be an integer because I'm getting my input and using the int function I'm converting my input, which is originally a string, into an integer. Now I'm just going to copy this line and place it here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to send it, instead of the number 3, I'm going to send it number, and instead of the string n, I'm going to send it name. So this time I'm calling my greetings function, but I'm sending it 2 variables. Now the first variable will be received into the parameter n, The second variable will be received into the parameter called the name. So this makes it much more useful because now I can enter any name and any number. This one I'm sending across the literal number 3 and the literal string an. So let's see what happens now. Let's print a blank line between, I'm going to print a blank line here. If you forget what this is doing, I'm just going to remind you. This will print a blank line. Okay, this of course is a comment, it's in red. So let's run this code. First of all, I'll save it. Now I'm going to run it. And there it is. Now look at the output and look at the program running. So first of all, I define the function. Now nothing will happen until you call the function. So the first thing that's going to happen is when this line is executed, it's going to send 3 into n into the name, and then it's going to run this, and the function is finished. It will then go down to print the blank line, and then it will ask you to input your name. So this time I'm going to put in Dawson. When I press enter, the string Dawson will go into name. And now it's asking me to input how many greetings. So let's have 2 greetings. So when I press enter, the number 2, the integer 2, will go into the variable called number. Then I'm going to call my function. I'm going to send across the number 2 and the name Dawson, and it's going to repeat 2 times, hello Dawson, nice day today. And there we see it. So functions, when you define them, they can have no parameters, they can have 1 parameter, and they can have more than 1 parameter. It's up to you. You can send across numbers, you can send across a string to a function, and inside of the function, whatever you send across can be used in the function. So that is our quick introduction to functions, and in the next video I'm going to explain to you about a new keyword called return, which is used with functions, and that makes functions a lot more versatile. So I'll see you in the next movie.